Hey, welcome to Whitetailgarage. This weekend we've got new work on the car. We're going to be able to get the front end on it. So still waiting on some parts, but I went ahead and grabbed the hood and the fenders and the stone guard and front fascia, and I've got the front valance. I've got all of that on, but none of it is aligned. So I've got to align that, and then after that, maybe I can get this guy back on the car as well. Bumper's over there, so we'll get that on as well. One of the struggles I'm dealing with, a little bit of a rant here, but when I have an issue with shipping, 9 times out of 10 that issue is with USPS. And I've had 2 packages now that have been lost that I just have to reorder and wait another 5 days for because of USPS. And I don't think that's my individual mailman or the individuals that are there working getting stuff done. I think it's a leadership problem, because it's very obvious that if there's a problem, for me it's almost always USPS. UPS doesn't seem to have that problem. FedEx doesn't seem to have that problem. Something goes with them, it always ends up coming to my door. When Amazon or any of those other people that I'm getting parts from choose USPS, I've run into problems. Either it doesn't deliver when they say it was going to, or just flat out never delivers. And so frankly, if it were up to me, these big companies would stop doing business with USPS. We just get rid of that and do the ones that are led correctly. Those are the ones that should get my money. So that's my rant over. Anyways, so what has happened is there's a U-joint that's tough to get. It's that 514G, Moog 514G. Nobody local has it, and so I'm having to order it, and I'll be waiting for my 3rd one to get here now. It should be here on Friday, unless USPS messes that one up, and then we'll have to wait a little bit longer. So in the short term, though, we've got work we can do. I have moved on to a few things in the interior. Just as I've been waiting, I've been tinkering. So trying to get the stereo going. For some reason it was never hooked up, or it wasn't hooked up. So hopefully that doesn't mean like the stereo's fried or something. We'll see. I'm gonna fiddle with that. I went ahead and pulled the speaker out of the dash just to see its condition. It's pretty old, might not play. I plan on getting one of the newer Bluetooth stereos eventually, but like $500 some odd to get started in that space. And if this thing will just make some noise for now, again, try and get it on the road and enjoy it, and then we'll add that stuff as we go. So waiting on that. Steering wheel, I'll give you a close-up here in a minute, but I went in and pulled the steering wheel because the horn didn't work, and the horn ring was kind of cocked to one side. So I knew at a minimum I needed the horn ring retainer, $2.99 part, but I could also see that the steering wheel was cracked in a couple of places. And so I figured, given the age, given the steering wheel, probably got an issue with the turn signal switch. Turns out I do. Those 2 spring-loaded contacts that are for the horn, the hot side has melted and is kind of pulled away and doesn't spring anymore. And so it's not contacting the steering wheel, so the horn's not going to work till I get that squared away. It's going to require a new steering wheel, a new turn signal switch. Got to decide if that's something I want to do before I get it on the road and validate that. Tires won't be here till the middle of next week, so that means at a minimum I can't drive it till next weekend anyway. I just really wanted to be able to start it, and with the transmission in, I need to put oil in both the engine and transmission, but I need to be able to put the drive shaft in to keep the oil in the transmission, right? And so I can't put that drive shaft in until I have that U-joint. And frankly, it's quite unsafe to start it. Even if I just put the drive shaft in there and kind of laid it down, I'd hate to accidentally end up with it in gear while it's started and just start whipping that drive shaft around, right? That'd be wildly dangerous. So anyways, it's not that I don't have things to do, it's just that I can't do the things I wanted to do, which is just really frustrating. And I think these other companies should do the right thing and get the right leadership to be effective in what they're selling to their customer. It feels like to me the only thing USPS is effective at is giving me junk mail. And frankly, if I could eliminate the mailbox at the end of my driveway and get rid of that source of garbage that I have to manage for USPS, because all they do is put garbage in a box that I then take from that box and put in another trash can and then goes to a landfill or recycling place. Why are we paying for that? I don't understand. If you understand, please leave a comment. That actually frustrates me, I'm sure you can tell. I'd rather deal with those other companies that don't just bring me garbage daily and actually provide stuff that I'm looking for, right? Stuff that I've asked for. Anyways, off the soapbox. My apologies. And again, I'm not speaking to the individuals that are working at these places. I'm talking about the leadership at USPS, the leadership, the people making decisions that make it run the way that it's running now. That's where the problem is, not the individuals working there. Anyhow, so today we'll work on some little odds and ends things. You know, I'll bring y'all along. We'll do some time lapse, and I'll bring y'all along, cut in, and talk to y'all. But otherwise, it's going to be aligning the front end this weekend. Hopefully, getting that all set up, and then just tinkering in some other places. I did get wipers. I was surprised at how tough these are to find. So I've got a different set of wiper blade, the metal part of the wiper blade, but I couldn't find the right refills to reuse those, so I ended up having to buy these, the whole, blade top, not the arm, but the blade itself. And the only place I could really find those were at like CJ Pony Parts. I just think that's crazy because it's not just going on Mustangs, right? But I couldn't find them. Anyways, just ended up getting them from CJ Pony Parts. Got them in, excited about that. The wipers do work, everything's functional there. So that's good. I did, in a separate video, I'll link it up above, but got the washer fluid in, or washer fluid bag in, so I'm going to fill that with washer fluid today. Just make sure it functions as expected. I did test the pump separately and it did work, so we'll validate that. But otherwise, let's just jump into it. Have some fun just kind of playing around. Did get another order from CJ Pony Parts, so just talking about the steering wheel. I got the retainer ring just in case. I ordered this before I took the steering wheel off, but I was hoping that just that was the issue. It's not, but anyhow. Got headlight door screws. I've got most of them, but I'm missing like 2 of them, and then some of them are painted, so I went ahead and just ordered a new set there, so they're nice and stainless and correct. I got a hood bumper kit, so comes with the inner rubber as well as the bumper, and that was the main thing I needed. I needed one of these, but this whole kit cost like $1 or $2 more than the individual one they sold. So it was like, no, just get the whole kit. Bumper, the upper stone guard, special nut and retainer, or stud and retainer. So it has that weird back on it that goes in the square hole in the core support. Mine's completely missing, so now I have that. Transmission, cross member bolts. The thread is just completely wiped out on mine, so I just got a new set of those. So fender bolts, that is more to do with right here. The fender decal nuts are completely ripped out of the vehicle I've got, and these are the replacements that everybody carries. And I needed some nicer looking fender bolts anyway. All of the ones I have are pretty messed up, and they're basically the same bolt that gets used here. So all of these will go up top, so that way they're a nice fresh new look on the fender. And then I'll take the decent ones that I have that are in the fender now, and I'll use a pair of them down below for those, because the ones that were there from the factory are still stuck to the nut that was ripped out of the vehicle when they did that. Then I got a replacement set of the rocker molding clips. So the main reason was I needed two of these are completely busted off, 2 of the studs on the ends. One of them is kind of gnarled up, and then the other one looks like it's functional. So I really needed 4 of them anyway. And the only way CJ Pony Parts sold these was as a full kit. I know on National Parts Depot they have these individually for fairly inexpensive, just the end caps. And my rocker panel clips, they're all there, and they all look to be in decent shape. Some of them are rusted out, like that one is really rusted out, but still looks to be in decent shape, at least enough to hold the molding on. But it was cheaper. Unfortunately, it was cheaper with all of this. I was able to get free shipping from CJ Pony Parts, whereas National Parts Depot, they have a $300 free shipping charge. And so to get this order, I would have had to pay, I think it was $12 or $15 more for shipping, and not get a $12 or $15 part. So it actually ended up being cheaper, just in this particular scenario, to get the free shipping and order these full kits than it was to order all this separate with just the ends and pay for shipping from National Parts Depot. And so now I'll replace all these so I have new fresh clips there. The only thing that went wrong was I got these that are the new Fender to cowl for that one that's kind of halfway up. It's like right here, and it's the Fender to cowl nut, and it's actually, the nut goes in through the kick panel to the fender. Well, this is like a vibration pad, and they're sold in pairs. Unfortunately, they only sent me one, which stinks because I really want to work on that this weekend. So I may be stuck with getting all but this guy square on those, and then just hoping I can get it in there even though I've got everything else aligned. Or I may just only align one fender and do the other side. I did contact CJ Pony Parts, and they were prompt to get another one coming for me, you know, at no charge, of course, which is nice. But yeah, they made that mistake, so got that on the way. If I get to it, I did get some of this Never Dull, Eagle One Never Dull, the wadding polish, because I need to do like that guy, you know, those guys, the windshield, both bumpers, you know. I don't know if that's a good product to use. I've never used it, but I've used a similar one that was for a long time ago for polishing aluminum wheels on the 90. So hopefully that'll work. Start with something simple today. Just get this guy filled up. I want to see the bag kind of weigh down this hose and see how it's going to fit. We'll double check, make sure that there's no leaks and that the washer pump works. See this, now the bag sits correctly, but this is still like way too much hose. I don't really like it that far out, so I may shorten it. But for now, let's just test that the washer works. Oh, well, battery'd be good, right? Well, that was pretty noisy, but a success. Once we got the air out of the system, seems to be working well. All right, working with the Fender to cowl nut. It's a little weird nut, right? It's kind of hard to see how that goes in there to work. But I wanted to show you, it's like this, right? So that little, see how that's offset to one side? You're going to use that to your advantage. Slide the nut in there, push it one direction. Oh, I dropped it. So slide the nut in there, push it one direction, then get it back over that lip like that. So then whenever you hammer down on that nut and tighten a bolt, it's going to pull it into that square. So that's how you use those. Alright, so next morning, I haven't got a whole lot more done. I was just kind of fiddling yesterday, but I did get the stereo working. The speaker up there does work. I'm actually kind of impressed with how loud it is, given the age of it and how small the speakers are. But it'll work for now. It's a tape player, so you know that's not ideal, but it'll work for now, and then we'll get a better stereo later. So this side, I'm sorry, let me start over here actually. So I got the hood aligned yesterday with the fenders off. Got the hood aligned. It's set exactly where I want it. And then I got this fender installed and aligned. And it's pretty good alignment. Let me shut the hood and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can see the line is nice and consistent all the way down. Then we've got a good consistent line across there. And then the fender has a nice consistent line as well. The last guy that had this, or the previous owner, kept taking the fenders on and off, and since they weren't worried about the car or the paint, they did it very rough, and so all of this chipping and everything is from them just taking the fenders on and off. So it's unfortunate because the paint, although it's not a great quality, it's a consistent quality across the whole thing, and so it looks decent with the exception of those mess ups, and so I'll have to just contend with those until we get the car repainted, because I'm obviously not going to be able to find any touch-ups or anything with this color. So anyways, got this side done, and I was holding on this other side because I have to do the antenna. So I was holding on this side because I have to do the antenna. I have to get the antenna out. I probably wouldn't have done an antenna, or I'd have done, you know, one of those high-powered hidden antennas, but it has a big old hole in the fender for an antenna, and rather than like plug that with a piece of plastic or something, I'll just get an antenna. It's period correct for these cars anyway. It'll look correct, so I'll just get an antenna, and I've got to run that in. And so I was waiting to put the fender on until I got the antenna, but then, because I didn't want to take the splash shields off, because I was worried that with all of the buildup that they had there, and you know, any rust or anything, that if I took it off, it might not go back correctly. But I took a couple of the bolts out and started just examining it better, and it came right out. So it's like perfect. So I can go ahead and put this fender on then, so I can get the whole front end on as we're waiting for everything else. So that's what I'm going to do today: get this fender aligned and get it in, and then start working on the rest of the front end. Get the valance and the stone guard aligned, and then pull that guy up off the wall and get it on the car. And so that way the whole front end will be done, and we'll just have to wait on those parts to drive it next weekend. All right, so this fender's on and aligned as good as it's going to get. I don't think this is a factory fender because it doesn't have the date stamp on the inside. The driver's side does, passenger side does not have a date stamp. And it also just fits weird in a couple of spots. Like it's way too high under the windshield here, so you have to push down real hard to get it underneath. You can see that kind of gap doesn't match, but I can get the rest of the gap to match correctly. And then up here, it's really close here, and you can see where when it was misaligned before, somebody was hitting it with the hood, but then it gets a little wide in the center and then goes back to a small gap over there. And so I think it's just a poorly stamped fender or something. But it's on as good as it's going to get right now. Like I said, there's where I can put the antenna. So next is the Valance and the Stone Guard. Alright, so we got the Stone Guard in, the valance in, the side markers are in from the front side anyway. They still have to be wired because the last person, rather than going a little bit further and unplugging them, just cut them. So all this is in. Next I'm going to go ahead and get those lights wired so that way they're good, and then start putting in everything up here, and we'll put the bumper on last. Went ahead and got all the grill pulled apart, so all the headlight buckets or doors, grill, all those parts got it all pulled apart because all of that has little adjustments, and it's they pulled it apart as a single piece, but that doesn't mean it's going to go back and align the right way. So rather than try and fight it and manipulate it, I'm going to put it on one piece at a time, exactly like you're supposed to do. So that's next steps. I've gotten, these are all, the lights are both wired. I've checked them, they work. I've got them all plugged in. So next steps, start putting in those headlight buckets, then the grill, then the doors, or the headlights and the doors, all that.